Let's begin. The 3 stages of a traditional relationship. This is something that's very close to me because when you can understand each stage, when you know how to perfect it, when you know how to progress from one stage to the next, you can form an everlasting bond with the right girl. The type of girl who is fit to be your wife. The type of girl that you don't feel embarrassed about introducing to your family and friends. The type of girl that you can trust with not just your life, but your finances, your money. You can have children with her, knowing that she won't ever betray you. She won't ever divorce you and take away half of your assets. So I promise you, if you follow what I say in this video, you will be able to find the right quality girl, and you will be able to form that wholesome, loving, traditional relationship that all men are after, and yet so few ever find. First step is to ignore everyone else. When you go on YouTube, on Instagram, on social media, TikTok, every guy, every influencer has an opinion. And now the trend is to start promoting this traditional, loving relationship, telling their followers, don't have hookups, go marry a virgin girl. But these dating coaches have no idea what's involved in a traditional relationship. They literally say the most absurd and ridiculous things. Their advice is absolute trash. None of their followers will ever find a wife. At least they will never find a wife with a high quality woman by following their advice. And do you know why? It's because these dating coaches are not even married. They don't have a wife. They date very low quality, very promiscuous, trash tier, non-virgin girls. So on one hand, they make videos, they make shorts on Instagram, TikTok, telling young men to go find a virgin woman, marry her, have kids, just like our ancestors did, that wholesome traditional life. But on another hand, these same dating coaches are out partying. These same dating coaches are drinking alcohol, which is probably the most disgusting thing you can do. These same dating coaches are sleeping with trash tier women who've been passed around from one guy to the next more than the football in the World Cup. Think about how absurd that is. You tell your followers to do one thing, but yet you actively do the other thing. If your advice is so amazing, if you can genuinely help any young man find a high quality wife, then why haven't you found one yet? Why aren't you married? Why don't you have children? Why haven't you settled down and started building something meaningful and special? If I ask this to them, they all give the same answer, which is, I don't want a wife yet. I'm at that stage in life where I just want to be free. I just want to have fun. One day I'll have a wife. Now's not the right time for me. Right now, my focus is elsewhere. That's complete and utter lies. You're just telling bullshit. It's not because you don't want a high quality woman. It's because high quality women don't want you. What kind of high quality, virgin, religious, virtuous woman who has saved her virginity for 20 plus years? She's never kissed a guy. She's never dated. She's never even held hands with a guy. Why would she ever want to marry someone who is actively having hookups? Why would she want to marry someone who drinks and smokes on his videos? Why would she want to marry someone who lives a complete degenerate lifestyle? So it's got nothing to do with you're not ready. You, the dating coach, isn't ready to marry. It's that all high quality women find you disgusting. They are repulsed by your existence. If their advice was so good, they would have lived it first, shown that it works, and then start teaching others. That's how it works, right? You become an expert at something, you incorporate it into your life, and then you help others. And this is why, if you just follow me, I promise I will help you find your soulmate, because I've literally done this. I literally went from a kissless loser to a dirty degenerate to sorting my life out to the point I literally married a highly religious, virtuous, virgin, traditional woman who worships me like a god. So it's not just a classic traditional relationship. My marriage is like several tiers ahead of that. I found these 3 stages literally through my own experiences. I didn't need any dating coaches. I didn't even need like books or YouTube videos or even other people's experiences. I did everything myself, which is hard work. So between the age of, say, up until the age of 23, I hadn't even ever kissed a girl, never even held a girl's hand, let alone have sex with a girl. And obviously I wanted to. Who wouldn't? All my life I wanted a girlfriend. All my life I just wanted a girl to cuddle with and spend time with and do all the cute stuff with, but no girls were interested in me. Now that's a whole other topic. Back then I was extremely addicted to pornography. I had a severe masturbation addiction. And I was a very hateful person. I turned into an incel when I could see that women weren't interested in me, or at least didn't want to have a relationship with me. I turned very toxic. I started hating women, which is the absolute wrong thing to do. Women have a right to choose who they want to sleep with. Women have a right to choose who they want to date. And if you as a man can't take that, well, you deserve to be single. So I was a kissless virgin loser. And then what happened was I understood what I had to become in order to get attention from women. I understood that it's not just physical attraction, it's not just your money or the car that you drive, it's how you present yourself. It's how you talk, it's how you seduce women in a wholesome way, but also in a lustful filled way. So when I figured that out and I became a lot more masculine, I literally had the tools, I had the ability to make any girl interested in me. Now, this was like giving a hammer to a child. What do you expect the child to do? Do you think he will carefully now use the hammer? No, he will smash everything up, and that's exactly what I did. With this newfound knowledge, this newfound personality, I just turned into a dirty degenerate. I started sleeping with tons of girls every week. Every week I set myself a target. I wanted to sleep with one different woman a week, which is very disgusting when you think about it. Like being intimate with another human being just based on a target. What kind of life is that? It's not a good way to live. Don't get me wrong, it's better than being this. It's better than wanting to kill yourself because you're so devoid of affection. But this is not a nice way to live. It's a very soulless way, very meaningless way to live your life. And again, it made me hate women. It made me hate myself because I could see that every time I would sleep with these girls, I was giving part of my soul, part of my time away to them without it ever progressing. The sex is amazing, but how long do I feel good during sex? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? For the rest of that time, I feel absolutely awful. And I decided things had to change. I knew how to attract women. I knew how to make them fall in love with me. What I didn't know was how do I find the right woman to do this with? That one single woman that I can put all my time and effort into and build something special rather than just entertaining tons of women at once just because I could. So I stopped doing all these bad things. I told myself I'm not sleeping around anymore. I'm not having hookups anymore. In fact, I won't even talk to low quality women. I set myself certain standards, which I will talk about in a future lecture video, that a woman must meet in order for me to be satisfied that she is indeed high quality, that she is worth my time, she's worth my attention. Some of the obvious ones are that she must have been a virgin, obviously, right? Why would I ever want to have a meaningful relationship with a woman who has been penetrated before? That's not something for me. Listen, if other guys want to do that, go right ahead. That's not for me. But there were some more subtle standards. How respectful is she? How obedient is she? How feminine is she? When I set myself these standards, I genuinely believe God, the God, saw this change in me. He saw this change. He could see that I had become a different man. I'm a very religious person. And so through that, he put this woman in my life. Now I still had to attract her. I still had to show her that I am the best man for her. But It was at that time that just suddenly this woman appeared in my life who was extremely high quality. Obviously a virgin. Obviously she's never dated or kissed. But beyond that, me and her connected so well. And it was through that dynamic that I started to understand, okay, so this is what's involved in a traditional relationship. This is the difference between a low quality relationship and a high quality relationship. This is how you can turn the first meeting with a high quality woman into something that progresses onto marriage. And I figured out everything myself. I didn't need help. There was nobody that could help me. Like I said, all these dating coaches have no idea what's involved in a traditional marriage because they're not even married. So when I would watch their videos, when I would listen to their podcasts, or even pay for their courses, I'm embarrassed to say that I've paid for some of these absolute morons to try and help me. It was complete and utter waste of time. They don't have any clue what they're talking about. Since then, I've tried different things, tested different things, experimented, and then perfected. What I mean by this is I literally used my own marriage to understand why is my marriage so much better than other people's. To this day, I have never met somebody who hasn't done what I've done genuinely feel like they've married their soulmate. What I mean by that is, me and my wife, we meet couples all the time. And they may have a great relationship. They could be married, they could be dating, whatever. But to this day, I have never met a couple that I could say, you are married to your true soulmate. Never. Because they haven't done what my wife and I have done. They haven't tried different things to change the dynamics of their marriage to something that transcends normality. They haven't tested different methods of living with each other. They haven't tested different methods of being masculine and feminine towards each other. They haven't experimented. Sometimes things go right, sometimes things go wrong. They haven't had the courage to do this, so they haven't perfected their relationship. But I have. I've done everything now, so I know literally what I had to do in the past. Like if I could go back in time to back when I was a kissless virgin loser, I would tell myself, this is exactly what you have to do to attract girls. But don't attract the low quality ones. If they come after you, reject them. And this is what you have to do to find a high quality girl. And this is what you have to do to make her fall in love with you. And this is what you have to do to make her want to marry you. This is what you have to do to form this amazing marriage together. This is what you have to do to make her respect you like you are this supreme entity where she worships the ground that you walk on. Think about how amazing that is. A wife that is so devoted to you that she will do anything for you. That's what I want to helping people watching my videos. I want to bypass all this pain and effort so that you know exactly what to do. The first stage of any relationship is the physical connection. This is the first thing that's ever built. When you match with a girl on Tinder, this is what you base your like on. You base it on the physical connection. You look at her profile and you consider, is she attractive? Do I feel an attraction towards her? Do I find her desirable? Similarly, when a girl sees a guy's profile on Tinder, she asks the same question to herself. Is his height acceptable? Is his facial symmetry acceptable? Do I like what he's written in his profile? Does he seem like the type of person that if I met him, I would have a great time with? Physical connection is everything to do with our senses. It's what we can see, what we can touch, what we can literally smell and taste. It's everything that's physical. And it even includes things like how much money the guy makes, how the woman dresses, how dominant and masculine this man is. Because you can see it, can't you? If you are a man and you want to attract a very high quality girl, you need her to see that you are high quality. If you are a man and you want to attract a low quality girl because you want to have a hookup, you need her to see that you are this prime male who she feels this innate desire to mate with. Now, that mating act is meaningless. You're not doing it because you're married or you want to have children, produce offspring. You're doing it for sexual gratification reasons, but still you need the physical connection. So it can happen in any type of relationship, low quality and high quality. A relationship without physical connection is just friendship. It is strictly platonic. There is no sexual chemistry. That relationship will never, ever progress to anything more than pure friendship. And it is always induced by lust. It's always induced by our sexual desires. This is why you could see two women, both with the exact same values, both with the exact same circumstances. They're both virgins, they're both very high quality, they're both very religious, and yet you will feel drawn towards one of them a lot more than the other. Why? Because she looks different. She acts different. She dresses very pretty. She wears makeup, but not in a hoey way, in a way that complements her natural beauty. She speaks in a very soft and pleasant tone of voice. She doesn't speak like she's grown up in the ghetto. So you feel connected to her. You feel this sexual desire for her. You want her. This is lust, and this is not a bad thing. Many men have this misconception that if you want to marry a high quality woman, there must never be lust because lust is bad. It's what causes people to cheat. It's what causes people to have sexual addictions, where hookup culture becomes part of your life. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. If anything, with the right woman, when you have the right physical connection, you will feel more lust towards her than you will with any other woman because she meets what you're looking for. She meets every sexual desire that you have. This is so important. This answers the age-old question where men say to me, I really want a traditional wife, but I'm so scared. I'm so scared that we will be in a sexless marriage because how could a very high quality woman who's never had sex, never done anything degenerate, how could she satisfy me sexually? When all my life, the only women who have ever satisfied me sexually are the trashy girls, because trashy girls have had a lot of sex. And I always tell them, when you find the right woman, when you truly find your soulmate, you will experience sexual chemistry that transcends anything that you've experienced. It will be purposeful. It will be meaningful. It will feel 100 times better. So physical connection is short-lived. Why? Because you only really experience it when you see that person. If you were browsing Tinder and you came across a girl's profile who was so sexy, like 10 out of 10 sexy, whether she's high quality or low quality, doesn't matter. She looks stunning. She has huge breasts, an hourglass figure, a huge ass, thick legs, everything that you want in a woman. Or maybe you like girls who are quite slim. She's got a slim figure, very soft skin, looks to be like an athlete. Maybe that's what you find sexually arousing. But the moment that her profile now disappears from your screen, that physical lust, that connection that you felt towards her dies down rapidly. It's why we don't think about girls, these incredibly sexy girls that you see on social media, after you've closed the app, because it's done. She doesn't exist anymore. She's not in front of you. Your five senses are no longer able to review her. But lust is obviously extremely powerful. It is really what makes you driven towards a person. When you see a girl's profile, that's what makes you match her. That's what makes you message her. You're like, hey, this girl is beautiful. She's so stunning. I want to get to know her. It moves you. It causes you to take action. That's how powerful it is. Some men, well, most men who are able to attract women use this in a very wrongful way. It causes them to take action, which is degenerate, just like I did. When I knew how to induce a physical connection in women, meaning they look at me with lust. I slept with them every time. But you don't have to. I can teach you how to do this, and you can use this on your future wife rather than using it on any girl that comes your way. So you need to be quite humble. You need to have humility and understanding that when you develop a physical connection with a girl and when she develops one with you, it will be extremely powerful. So you have to be the one that uses this in a wholesome way because you're after a traditional marriage. You're after a traditional relationship. The problem with physical connection is it needs constant regeneration. So you need to constantly keep up this excitement. Otherwise, it dies. It dies down fast. The connection is lost. Let's say you match with this girl on Tinder. Maybe she's a high quality girl. You say, give me your number. Let's talk on WhatsApp, on a one-to-one basis. And you chat with her briefly and she sends you a picture. She looks really nice. And you send her a picture. And you look nice as well. She looks at your picture and goes, damn, this guy is really well in shape. I love his beard. I love his hair. I love how wide his frame is. Everything physical. The next day, do you think that girl is still lusting over this picture? Do you think that girl is still lusting over your profile? Maybe a little bit, but a lot less than she was when she first matched with you. Because that's become the norm now, hasn't it? It's not exciting to do the same thing again and again and again with the same person, with the same pictures. So how do you maintain this excitement? You need to constantly regenerate it. You need to send new pictures. You need to have new conversations. You need to tell her new things about you. Remember, physical connection also means her having lust towards your wealth because she's looking for a provider. She's not looking for a bum. She wants a man who has a business. She wants a man who works hard. She wants a man who's traveled the world, who lives an exciting life. But if all you do is just talk to her about that one trip you took to Brazil, and that's all you ever talk about, will she still find that experience exciting? Of course not. So you need to keep this up again and again, tell her about new things that you've done to keep this excitement going. This is why physical connection dies down in relationships so quickly, because when a man and a woman get in a relationship, they feel this physical connection towards each other, but they stop putting in the effort. The man stops putting in effort in his work. He stops putting in the effort in his health. He becomes fat. He becomes lazy. So his girlfriend, his wife, sees this downward trend. So this physical connection is lost. What was once extremely powerful, bringing two people together, making them fantasize sexual fantasies about each other, is now dead. They have a dead bedroom because they stopped putting in this effort. They stopped regenerating this connection. But you can see the problem with this now, can't you? That if you don't progress onto the next stage of a traditional relationship, a relationship based on just physical connection is bound to fail because no person can continue putting in this much effort. Imagine how exhausting it must be to be in a relationship with a girl where all you feel towards her is lust. You don't care what she has to say. You have no opinions about her personality. You just want to have sex with her. And the only way you can do that is by having sexually exciting conversations. But imagine doing that every single day for a month. Imagine essentially sexting for a month. How tiring must that be? When you meet the right woman, a high quality relationship, that's what you're after. You now need to move it to the second stage, which is the emotional connection. And this can only ever happen in a high quality relationship with a high quality girl. Why? Because an emotional connection is when you have this strong desire to understand each other. I already find this woman extremely attractive. She looks sexually arousing to me. What else does she have? What about her values? What about her life experiences? What about the things that she wants in this world and doesn't want? An emotional connection is everything to do with what makes us tick. Why are we the way that we are? It's about our story. Every person in this world has a story. And as human beings, we're so sociable beings that we are dying to tell our story to someone. You know this is true. And you may not admit this, but this is absolute fact. Right now, you are dying to find the woman who could take your head on her chest in bed. You're lying there naked, skin on skin, and she just hums in your ear and runs her fingers across your hair while you just talk to her about something that happened in your life. Think about how peaceful that must be, how purposeful that must feel, how close of a bond you two will form, knowing that you genuinely care about understanding each other's story, why you are the way that you are. An emotional connection is very long lived and it builds a strong bond. When you match with a girl on Tinder and she seems very high quality, let's just say, okay, you feel this sexual desire towards her, but you're not a monkey. You're better than that. Danish is helping you. So you say to her, listen, let's just meet on a date. You're not interested in sexting or exchanging tons of pics, jacking off to her nudes. That's monkey level behavior. You're looking for something special, so you meet on a date. What do you think the purpose of that first date is? It's to build an emotional connection. Why else would you meet in person? An emotional connection cannot be built virtually. Texting is soulless. Texting is just for physical connection because physical connections are short-lived. They don't require in-depth conversations. Sending a single picture of you looking ripped will induce this girl to have a 10 out of 10 physical connection to you. Did you use 1,000 words to convey this? No, it was just one single picture. But that connection will last for 10 seconds, an hour, one day. Once an emotional connection is built, when you meet this girl on a date and you say to her, tell me about the upbringing you had with your parents. And she says, when I was 12 years old, my dad tried to sexually assault me. And it wasn't until my uncle came to our house with the shotgun and put it at my dad's face that he finally stopped. This was an actual conversation I had with a girl once on our first date. Imagine what kind of bond she feels with me to be able to tell this story. Is she telling me this story just because she finds me sexy, because she wants me to fuck her? Of course not. She would rather keep that information private. That's a very personal story. Why is she telling me this? Because when we met on the first date, and I spoke to her about my stories, positive and negative, the good and the bad, she thought to herself, this guy is something else. He isn't like the other men. He understands how to make a woman feel special. He genuinely wants to know more about me. Now, the irony in this is, I didn't. I was manipulating her. I just wanted to have sex with her. Why? Because I was a dirty degenerate. Remember, I figured out what to do to make women fall in love with me. But I used these methods irresponsibly. I used them just to fulfill my sexual desires, and it crushed these women in the end. This is why I'm here telling you exactly what you have to do, but do it in a way that makes you attract the right quality girl that you can have a traditional relationship with, you can get married with. So imagine the bond that built between us, especially from her side, being able to tell me this. And this can only be built in person. You need to be able to see that person. You need to be able to feel that person. It needs to be real. Texting is not real. Texting is virtual. It's meaningless. It's boring. Imagine having a deep emotional conversation through texting. At first, it might seem wholesome, but imagine doing this every day. How soul-crushingly boring must that feel? So if you want to build an emotional connection with a girl, the moment you've built a physical connection, the moment you feel you are attracted towards this girl and she's attracted towards you, you must tell her to meet. You must issue a command. And remember, there's nothing wrong with commands. You're a masculine man. You don't ask, you issue commands. This girl is welcome to accept or reject. You just say to her, let's meet in person. I find it so much more meaningful to get to know someone when I can see them properly. That's how I converse properly, the traditional way. Then what happens when you understand her story? She understands you. You form an emotional connection, and has long-lasting meaning. When you part after that first date, so if you kiss her and you hold hands and it's so wholesome, so beautiful, and you part and you may not see each other for the next week, you don't have to keep building an emotional connection, a physical connection anymore. Because she already knows that she finds you physically attractive, but that's not the reason why she wants to see you again. The reason why she wants to meet you again, the reason why she can't stop thinking about you is because you made her feel emotions that she's never felt before with another man. You made her feel safe. You made her feel cared for. You made her feel like she was the only woman in the world. That's why it can only be done in person. Then what happens? You meet again, you start dating, you start seeing each other properly, you tell people you're in a relationship, you consider each other boyfriend or girlfriend or, partners. And so this emotional connection becomes stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where you understand each other better than anyone else can. She knows more about you than anyone. She knows exactly what you want in this world. She knows exactly what you're going to do to get it. She knows what you're afraid of. She knows your deepest fears. She knows what your deepest desires are. And you don't have to lie. You can be truly honest with her. If part of your desires in a wife are to, be sexual with her feet, which is part of this physical connection, she won't judge you for that. Why? Because she understands you. She understands. And even if she's not into that kind of kink, she will happily do it for you one day. When will that be? When you built the last stage, which is the spiritual connection. This can only happen in very high quality relationships. You're either in a very meaningful relationship with someone you consider like your proper girlfriend, or you're married, something like that, like your genuine soulmate. This is what it takes to become soulmates. And it's induced by the desire to dedicate your life to each other. Imagine from like a woman's perspective, you want to have a spiritual connection with this husband that you've married. How would you do that? You dedicate your existence to him. You go to him and you say, I am at your disposal. I love you so much. You tell me what you want in this world and I will do it for you. And it can be as simple as what I just said. A lot of men have sexual desires that they're very embarrassed about, like feet. A lot of men like feet. Listen, I'm not going to judge. It's not my thing, but I'm not going to judge. You are entitled to whatever sexual fantasies you have with your woman. How many women do you think allow their husbands to play with their feet? Hardly any. You'd be surprised. A lot of these women know that these kind of kinks are considered to be weird in society, so they reject them completely. Is that the type of relationship that has a spiritual connection? How many men do you think have to beg their wives for oral, for blowjobs? You see it all the time when you go on Reddit, go on any forums, or you look at, guys' experience. They always talk about how their wife rewards them with a blowjob on their birthday. So it's the guy's birthday, and that's when the wife rewards him with a blowjob. What a poor marriage. What a meaningless marriage. Do you think this type of marriage has a spiritual connection where the wife has a desire to dedicate her life to this man? Of course not. Similarly, what about if the wife really wants to have children? And there are many marriages where the husband tells the wife to wait. Now, this could be based on logic and fact. Maybe the husband's like, no, we need to buy our house first, then we can look at having children, which is absolutely fine. But a lot of men put off having children because they want to have fun with other women. They know that once they impregnate this woman, she will own half his assets if she ever chooses to divorce him. So if she finds out that he's cheating, she will take half of everything. So what do these men do? They tell their wife, no. This woman is dying to have a baby. And these husbands would rather go sleep around. Because this way, if his wife finds out and she says, right, I'm not accepting this, she'll have to leave, but she doesn't get anything. She doesn't get child support. She doesn't get, money from him. Now, if that's what that guy wants to do, I'm not going to stop him. But what a soulless way to live. What a soulless marriage. Spiritual connection is that now that you've understood each other, you understand each other's deepest desires. Now you think, what can I do to provide this to this person that I love most in this world, to my soulmate? That's what a spiritual connection is. Sexually, it's the wife thinking, when I give my husband a blowjob, I don't feel anything. It doesn't arouse me, but I will give him one every day. And I will do it for an hour every day because I know that will make him feel amazing. It's the husband saying, I want to be very careful with my money. I want to save up and I want to build a proper life together. But my wife loves the idea of going to Europe and having a romantic trip with me. It's been a desire ever since she was a child. It's like this princess fantasy. She wants to go to Paris and feel like a princess. I'm going to do that for her. I'm going to make her fantasy come true. It could be something as simple as my wife loves to talk to me after work because she's been alone all day in the house. Now I come home and I'm exhausted, but I will set aside time where I grab my wife on the sofa, hold her so close to me, and I just talk to her while she falls asleep because that gives her comfort, that makes her feel safe. This is what a spiritual connection is. Understanding what each other wants and then doing it for them. This is extremely long-lived. You can imagine that when you dedicate your life to this person, this bond won't just break because you have an argument. This bond won't just break because you haven't seen each other for a week. Let's say if you had to go on a business trip. If you have this spiritual connection where your wife dedicates her existence towards you, do you think she will cheat while you're away? No. Why wouldn't she? Maybe there's a man that she finds physically attractive. She's human. Maybe there's a man at a grocery store who's taller than you, who's more ripped than you, who's wealthier than you, who drives a nicer car than you, who speaks better than you, who has a more masculine stance than you. She feels some attraction towards him, but will she pursue him? Of course not. Why? Because physical connection is the first stage. Does she understand this man? No. Does she understand his needs, his desires? Does she feel safe with him? No. Does she have any desire to dedicate her existence to this man? No. So she won't pursue him. She will happily wait for you. Similarly, if you are a man and you go away on business trips, 1 week away, 2 weeks away, and you meet a woman there who's 10 years younger than your wife, who's far prettier than your wife, far slimmer, she has a better figure, she's more softly spoken, would you sleep with her? Of course not. You have a very strong, very powerful connection to her, but that's a physical connection. Until you start progressing things with her, until you start spending time trying to understand her story, you will never trade your wife for her, because what you and your wife have is something so special. And even if you tried, who's to say that this girl was reciprocated back? Maybe this younger girl just finds you physically attractive. But when you try to get to know her, to understand her story. She goes, no, I'm not interested. Like, you're far too old for me. She's like a 20-year-old. You're like a 30-year-old. She's like, why would I want to be emotional with you? I just want to fuck. If you don't want to fuck, fine. But I'm not telling you my life story. I'd rather do that with a guy that I'm feeling an emotional connection with. A spiritual connection can only be built when you spend your life together, when you live together. So you see each other day by day, when you get married, when you make vows under the eyes of God to bind yourself to each other. That builds a spiritual connection because you've now taken a vow. What does the wife say when she marries? To love and obey my husband. What does the husband say? To protect, to love, to care. You have now made this spiritual bond, this vow that you have to be committed to. If you don't, you will spend an eternity in hell. You have made this vow under the eyes of God. What do you think he will do if he finds you trying to sleep with other women? He will send you to hell where you belong, if you believe in religion like I do. And having children when you're ready. All of these things will make you share the most loving traditional marriage or relationship, say whatever stage you're at, that you could have ever experienced. This is who a soulmate is. This concept of soulmate, some people believe in it, others don't. Nobody can actually say, how do you know when you found your soulmate? Well, I can. Your soulmate is someone that you have a physical connection with, an emotional connection with, and an incredibly fulfilling spiritual connection. You will find that there is only one woman out of 1 billion that you can have all three with. This is why marriages break down. This is why marriages that got started on the right foot end up in divorce. You find each other physically attractive. You can't keep your hands off each other. You like talking to each other. You genuinely understand each other's story, each other's tics, what makes this person them. But when it comes time to dedicating your life to each other, you both refuse to. The wife says, why should I submit to my husband? Why should I do what he wants? I'm an independent woman. I don't need a man to tell me what to do. Why should I give my husband a blowjob? I don't feel good doing it. The husband says, why should I give my wife oral? It's boring for me. I just want to fuck her. I just want to fuck her for 2 minutes, ejaculate, and finish. Why should I care about her orgasms? Think about how cancerous this way of living is. When you're so selfish that you refuse to form a spiritual connection. And one thing I want to say to all the businessmen, entrepreneurs watching this, I can tell some of you will be so offended by this, dedicating your life to each other. Danish, I'm not dedicating my life to a woman. I dedicate my life to a purpose. Well, buddy, you can dedicate your life to multiple things. You don't have to pick just one. Do you think there's only one thing that a man can dedicate himself to? Do you not dedicate yourself to the gym? Do you not dedicate yourself to eating healthy? Do you not dedicate yourself to a life of education where you learn and you improve your expertise? Do you not dedicate yourself to your business where you are the hardest worker? Do you not dedicate yourself to your family where you are the most reliable person, the action taker, the one that gets everything done? Will you not dedicate yourself to your children? That they have a father who is present in their life. They have a father who looks after them and will do anything. He is unstoppable at giving his children the best life possible. You dedicate yourself to a million different things that you care about. Why are you so offended by me telling you to be dedicated to your wife? You want your wife to be dedicated to you? Then you better return the feelings. Otherwise, you will never form the spiritual connection, ever. The last thing I want to mention is these 3 stages of a relationship are why long-distance relationships don't work. They do not work. Because physical connection starts when you first text and when you meet, but it dies. It's so short-lived. So if you are not meeting each other regularly, even if it is just for sex, you will lose that physical desire for each other. You will form that physical desire with someone who lives closer to you, just like she will. Because in-person physical connections are supreme to virtual physical connections. And then what happens in person? If you find someone, a girl who lives closer to you than your girlfriend, when you have sex with her, what happens if you start talking to her? What happens if she talks back? What happens when you start understanding each other's story? An emotional connection forms. Can you build an emotional connection with your girlfriend virtually? No. But you can do it with a girl who lives closer to you, a girl you see more often. And there's too much effort required in keeping things exciting long term when you don't see each other. There's only so much sexting you can do. Say if it's with your girlfriend, but she lives 3 hours away in a different city, maybe even a different country. How much effort do you think you need to put in order to keep you both sexually excited for each other when you only see each other once every 3 months? It will never work. We are human beings. We crave wanting to feel our partner next to us, skin on skin, sharing warmth with each other. So emotional and spiritual connections are impossible to be built virtually. But if you have already built them, say if you're married, you've got the physical connection, emotional, spiritual, you are genuinely soulmates. And you love each other and you dedicate your existence to each other. And let's say one day your boss says, I'm moving you to a different country. You're going to go manage our office there. Or maybe, your mother's ill, so you have to go take care of her in a different place where you can't see your wife for many months. Can you maintain that relationship? Can you maintain these connections? Not the physical one, but the emotional and spiritual you can. Why? Not because you're virtually keeping them maintained, but because they're extremely long-lived. Once you've built a spiritual connection, it takes a long amount of time for it to decay, unlike physical, which is very short-lived. But eventually, the emotional connection will die. Eventually, the spiritual connection will die. If you don't see each other, if you don't live each other, it can be maintained through huge effort. You have to do what you can, text, call, whatever. Even though that doesn't help you build the two connections, it could help you maintain them. But after a few days, after a few weeks, especially after a few months, the love, the bond, the connections that you shared will decay. And you are now no longer soulmates. Soulmates are built through effort. Soulmates are maintained through effort. Soulmates decay when you no longer put in that effort in person. A spiritual connection cannot be built unless you're living together, unless you're progressing or you've gotten married, unless you're on the way to having children. You always have to progress. You can never leave your relationship stagnant. You will both look for alternative partners eventually. This is the sad reality. If you want a highly loving traditional marriage like I have, where my wife worships the floor that I walk on, do what I've told you to do in this video. Find a girl that you have this amazing physical connection with. But make sure this girl fits your standards. Don't just try to commit yourself to any trash. Have some self-respect. Find the girl who is worth pursuing. Then get things moving. Don't wait. You have the physical connection. Tell her to meet you on a date. On that first date, build the emotional connection by understanding each other's stories. Not because Danish told you, but because you genuinely want to know more about this girl. You want to understand her. And then if the first date goes well, you meet again, then again, then again, and then again. And then you move on to the spiritual side one day. How can you dedicate your life to her? How can she dedicate her life to you? It's a dual process. She has to do this as well. And if you do this, I promise you, you will be married to your soulmate. Not that you will feel like this girl is your soulmate. No, no. She will become your soulmate. She will go to hell and back for you. You would move mountains for her. Whereas everyone else is getting divorced. 60% of marriages end in divorce. Because they have arguments, because they cheat, because they do this. You guys will have arguments. You guys will have fights. But you will always find each other back in your arms. She will always come back to you. She will always cry on your chest. You will always rest your head on her lap. Do what I say, and you will find your soulmate, and you will share this loving, traditional relationship.